ברנאר-אנרי lévy הוא סופר, היסטוריון, פילוסוף מהחשובים והבולטים בצרפת. הוא גם עיתונאי וגם דוקומנטריסט. בשנתיים האחרונות לקח תרמיל על שכם וגם מצלמה ויצא אל הפינות החשוכות של העולם, אל המקומות שאולי אנחנו לא רוצים לראות, אבל בהם מתקיים משבר הומניטרי מתמשך של אנשים, ציבור גדול, שסובל, עדיין סובל ממצב קשה ביותר. התוצאה היא סרט דוקומנטרי, הוא נקרא קרוב רחוק בעברית, שמתעד את מה שקורה בפינות הללו של העולם, ואולי גם מנסה להיות כתב אשמה אלינו במערב. הסרט הזה מוקרן בפסטיבל הקולנוע היהודי בירושלים. ברנאר-אנרי lévy הגיע לפסטיבל, והגיע גם לכאן באולפן לדבר על הסרט, על מה שהוא רוצה לומר בו, וגם על אותו אריק זמור, שהיום הודיע על ריצתו לנשיאות. הנה השיחה שקיימנו איתו. Hello, Mr. Henri Lévy. Thank you so much for being with us. We are honored to have you on the show.
My pleasure.
As I told in the beginning, you went out to document several conflict areas and humanitarian crises around the world. Let's show and let's watch a short clip and then we will talk. Here it is.
What is the biggest enemy, ISIS or Erdogan?
When you fight for your freedom, you fight also for our freedom.
Never turn your back on us.
I will be with the curse till the end of my life.
The English title is called The Will to See. Obviously, it hints to the fact that we maybe don't want to see. And I want to ask you, what was the thing that you wanted so urgently to show us and that we maybe don't want to see? What exactly is this thing?
It was the year of the COVID, when we were locking us down and entrenching, closing ourselves in our houses and closing also our eyes and our hearts. And I wanted to show that the world was continuing to exist. Erdogan was still processing. ISIS was still committing some crisis. The Christians in Nigeria were still victims of mass massacres. Women in Afghanistan were still full of hope and of fear that we abandoned them. So I did this movie in order to notice, in order to speak of this part of the world which was erased from our radars and consciousness.
Does the West bear any responsibility in creating or maintaining these conflicts? And is there anything that we, the people in the Western world, can do in order to solve them?
Of course, there is a lot of things to do. I think that the West has some responsibilities. I think that the rich countries have some duties. I think that the bad guys I was telling about, Hamas, terrorists, Erdogan, are much weaker than we think. They're apparently strong, but their strength is made out of our weakness. So the war in Syria, the war of Bashar al-Assad against his civilian population, was not inevitable. It could have been avoided. It could have been prevented. But we were weak. We were so harassed of ourselves, we and the free people.
Let's take, for instance, the Afghanistan situation. And you were traveling there. You have met with the number one opposition leader of the Taliban. In the end of the day, would you like the United States to keep paying in American bloods, in American soldiers, in order to maintain this semi-stable status quo?
Please, my friend. Americans had 2,500 soldiers. 50 times less or 20 times less than in South Korea, in Japan, in Germany, or in Italy. 2,500, it was very little. They were in a non-combat mission. There was no spilled blood of America since months, it's 1 year and a half. But with this little force, it was enough to terrorize to terrorize the terrorists. And a great power cannot betray its allies. You know, I've been a war reporter for long. I know that in any war, you have blood on your hands. Except that this time in Afghanistan or in Kurdistan, the blood which the West has on his hands is the blood of their allies, not the blood of their enemies.
And maybe not disconnected to these conflicts around the world, there is a political conflict or dynamics within France. And I'm talking about Eric Zemmour. He is a rising star of the right-wing camp. He may be a little bit like you. You're both sons of parents from Algeria. You are writers, TV personalities, and I've seen that your comments about him were quite negative. Why?
He's not like me at all. I don't speak against minorities.
Don't be offended. I was joking about the background.
I'm not offended, but there is a huge difference. I care about France, but I care also about Jews. I am a good French patriot, but I'm also a great lover of Israel. I'm a Zionist too. And for me, the two are compatible. I preach, all my life was devoted to that you can be a lover of France and a lover of Jerusalem and of Israel, the thing which he denies.
Mr. Henri Lévy, let's be frank. Maybe Eric Zemmour is only the symptom, is only the outcome of the substantial failure by the liberal elites to provide success, to provide prosperity and dignity to many people who feel they are left behind by these ideas of the liberal democracies or the Bernard-Henri Lévys of the world.
Maybe he is a symptom, but he's also a shame. He's a shame. And being a Jew, and he does not hide it, he's a committed Jew, it's a double shame. Because he's giving such a food to the anti-Semite in France by saying that the Vichy regime was good for the Jew, was protecting the Jew, by saying that when you have your grandchildren buried in Jerusalem, you are traitors. This is what he said.
I'm talking about the problem, not the solution. Maybe there is a deep problem within the public.
You have deep problems in any
countries
democracy.
like France that feel deprived, they feel left behind.
The characteristic of a democracy is that you have deep problems. The only country where you are supposed not to have deep problems is totalitarian state.
Maybe the liberal elites denied or wanted to not to look at those problems and
at
solve
what?
them.
The liberal elite, right, left, did more or less the job, but did the job. It is not true that there were an abandonment or that there were a betrayal of the elites. No, France is not doing so badly. You have some problems also in Israel. Any democracy you have problems. This is not a reason to make a podium for someone who defends non-democratic values. When a democracy has problems, you have to solve democratically the problems of democracy, not to suppress, to erase, to suspend the democracy itself.
A new documentary that you have made, in Hebrew it's called Karov, Rachok, here in the Jewish Film Festival in Jerusalem. These days, Bernard-Henri Lévy, thank you so much for taking the time to come to this studio. Thank you.
Thank you.